Hey everyone, Carl here with Literate Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Xerneas and Groudon this week. This duo is a very powerful duo that we've seen multiple times before in the past. If you played any kind of amount of VGC back in the X and Y and Sun and Moon era, you probably recognize these two as a strong duo. But before we get started on all of that, make sure to hit that like button, ring the bell for notifications for when new videos go live. It helps us out a lot. Leave a comment below on other deep dive pairings you want to see here in the future. As we get closer and closer to the start of live events, I believe Brisbane is this weekend. So for those of you going to play in Australia, have fun, be safe. And yeah, let's just hopefully these little videos reach out to you and get you started on team building some unique teams for Brisbane. So Xerneas and Groudon. These two people are fairly familiar with Groudon, and probably if you played Series 10, you're fairly familiar with Xerneas. Xerneas was a menace in Series 10, being able to just do things with Geomancy and Power Herb and just go nuts. And for right now, that kind of stays the same. You could do Geomancy, Moonblast things with Power Herb, and you could kind of have like a redirector and do that thing. But the big thing that keeps Xerneas in check is Zacian. Obviously, Zacian being a very fast, very strong steel type means that you have to have a way to kind of defeat it, like a good way to counter it. And honestly, if you're not playing like things like Landorus or Incineroar, the best thing you can do is probably play one of the better restricteds that counter it in Groudon. Groudon carries a lot of bulk behind it, very high attack stat, does a lot of damage. So what we're going to do today is we're kind of look at these two and kind of build a hybrid of Sun plus Xerneas team. I think these teams are super unexplored and they can be very, very powerful. There's been a few events I've seen with some success to it. So let's get started with these two. So like I mentioned, Power Herb Geomancy is the strongest thing you can do with Xerneas, and honestly, it plays to Xerneas' strengths well. This is not a Dynamax target Pokemon very often. You can Geomancy and Max and go nuts, but a lot of what you do is Geomancy and then just spam damage with moves like Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam, using your Fairy Aura boosted damage to kind of just push your opponents around. In this situation, I think Geomancy, Dazzling Gleam, and Moonblast are all you ever want to run. You don't really need any other coverage moves for that matter. And then probably just play Protect just in case you get caught out of position in some situations like that. Looking at partners, we know Groudon's a very powerful Sunsetter, and you have a very big hole to kind of try and beat Zacian. Since your Xerneas is almost never coming in against Zacian unless it's taken care of or you've neutered it completely. In this situation, I think something like Charizard is perfect here. It combines that same level of Gigantamax power, because like I said, Xerneas doesn't want to max, Charizard does, so it's a win-win situation if you bring Charizard and Xerneas. It helps, its power boosted by the Groudon, so I think this little core here is going to be very, very strong. Alongside that same vein, if you probably want some kind of redirection, and you can look at Indeedee, you can look at Togekiss, you can look at Rage Powder users like Volcarona and stuff like that. But what I think is great, actually, is probably something like Amoonguss. And why I think Amoonguss is probably better than most, the things that Xerneas loses to are steel types. Like, Xerneas is never going to be carrying goggles, right? So Rage Powder is going to be fine. Now, if you really, really, really are struggling, you can play Indeedee Female. This thing with Psychic Surge, it turns off all Prankster, it makes it to where it's impossible to like ignore, so you could always do something with this. I feel like this format leaves you a little bit weak, in my opinion, to just like being outmaneuvered. But something like Follow Me alongside Charizard's really good, or Swords Dance Groudon. So let's go with Indeedee for now and kind of just settle into that position here. So next up, we have a real big water weakness to Kyogre. You could play Venusaur here if you want to. I think Venusaur is kind of overrated right now. It's not the greatest Pokemon. What I do like, though, is something like Regieleki. So Regieleki's great. This could be a Life Orb set, like Dynamax set maybe. Just being able to outspeed everything, being able to hit the water types are super effectively, hit other flying types are super effective damage. You outspeed Zacian 100% of the time, meaning you don't have to worry too much about like trying to outspeed with Xerneas and things like that. You can use Regieleki and then just use Xerneas's really high special attack stat and Fairy Aura boost to kind of push other Pokemon around anyway. Lastly here, we do again have that water weakness. You could play something like a Gastrodon here or a water type. Gastrodon isn't terrible. I think you'd rather have an Intimidator though, which we have this stuff already. Like we have Groudon and Charizard already. Indeedee kind of plays with Xerneas and kind of plays with Regieleki really well. There's something there to that. You could also play a Fake Out user. Overall, I think Incineroar might be the best bet. Having access to Intimidate and Fake Out at the same time. Other things you could consider is if you're not too worried about playing Indeedee, you could play a Mungus and then have this be probably like a Gastrodon or something weird like that. Gyarados is something I've seen pop up here lately. Yeah, it's something very popular. Something that looks a lot like kind of like this, kind of like a supporty Thunder Wave bulky Gyarados, which has been really cool. And so yeah, there's a lot of tools here you can like use and look at and try to figure out here. As for items, this is where things get a little bit interesting. Lumberry makes the most sense right now. Everybody's playing Grimmsnarl and playing like Screens and Thunder Wave, so Lumberry Charizard's probably the best. Since we don't have a good Sash target, Focus Sash and Indeedee is completely fine here. Groudon, obviously you could do Citrus Berry, you could do White Herb, that's all up to preference. Power Herb here on Xerneas 100% of the time. Now for if you want, like, we're not gonna play Gyarados, but Incineroar is coming up here. Like Incineroar, again, Shuka is currently my favorite item, I think, next to Safety Goggles. We don't have a good way outside of like Regieleki to stop like a Mungus, so maybe Shuka's right. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, we'll go with Shuka. Shuka, I don't think we have to worry too much about a Mungus right now. We do have, you could just do this, and you would never have to worry about it again. So yeah, let's fill in these moves here. Precipice Blades, obviously, like this is the standard Groudon set. I have seen Assault Vest sets, which are really cool, but I don't think they're, like, not, the team that plays it is a very specific team, and it works on that team specifically. But this team is very hyper offensive and very straightforward. I feel like it's not hard to figure out, like, move-wise. This one, you want Blast Burn. This is where you can get into some weird scenarios. You can do Air Slash, Scorching Sands, and Protect. You don't have a good way to beat Gastrodon at the moment. So if you find you struggle against Gastrodon, which I don't see why you would, you have Xerneas here to kind of just beat it up. You could always change the Scorching Sands into Solar Beam. Helping Hand, I recommend Helping Hand a lot right now on your support Pokemon or Pokemon that you may not want to Dynamax all the time. Things like Blastoise, Charizard, all those things get Helping Hand, and Helping Hand helps boost your damage immensely in this format. Rising Voltage is something that's been popping up on Regieleki a lot also, which is kind of cool. Electro Web. And since we have Intimidate here, I think going those two damaging moves and then Extreme Speed, Protect is probably fine. Extreme Speed is cool on your Regieleki. It kind of gives you an extra little bit of priority, gives you a way to hit the ground types. Unfortunately, you don't have a great way of dealing with Landers, but that's what Xerneas is for. And then Incineroar with Flare Blitz, Parting Shot, Fake Out, and your last move honestly can be whatever. Since we don't have a great way of dealing with an opposing like Calyrex Shadow outside of just like expanding, like putting Indeedee in front of it and just stopping it, I think Throat Chop is great. Okay, now that we got our Mon selected and our moves and items picked out, time for the fun part, Eevees. This is where things get a little bit interesting because Xerneas is very straightforward. Charizard is 100% just this most of the time. You probably don't want to venture away from 252 for 252. Same thing kind of with Regieleki. That just goes there. Incineroar, with Shuka, I believe the numbers are something like this. I can't quite remember. 244 HP is obviously like the standard. Making sure you outspeed like faster Incineroars. I like being impish right now because I just want this thing to sit in front of an opposing like Zacian a lot. Rest in special defense. Probably a bold nature. You want to be able to take a couple hits, especially with Xerneas doing something like you want to be able to take 2 Behemoth Blades pretty much. That's your overall goal. Groudon, again, comes down to your Eevees and how you want to do this. I like slower, bulkier Groudons. That's just my preference. Something similar to this, if I remember right. And then good defense investment, rest in special defense. Enough speed to where you're just like outspeeding max speed, no neutral nature Incins. So 114, if I remember correctly. Here, I can just check this real quick. 113. So you want to probably outspeed everything trying to outspeed that. So definitely look at the 113 mark, which gives us an extra point to put into special defense, I guess. And then last, but obviously we'll do better calcs here in a minute when we get ready to go and play with this team. Lastly here, this is where you can get a lot of people, catch them off guard, is your Xerneas builds. I treat Xerneas a little bit like I treat my Yveltals, except I don't put anything in bulk. I try to outspeed certain things and then use my very high special attack to kind of just beat them. Like obviously we're going to be Geomancing almost 100% of the time, so you don't really need to invest in anything in your special attack. Just make sure like you pick up things at +2 and stuff like that. Get some decent special defense investment and defense investment. Stuff like that. Something similar to this. A bulkier set is fine. You could also flip this on its head and do something like this, where it's just like 210, 4, 4, and then the rest in special attack. Something similar to this is fine too. It kind of just comes down to what you're wanting to do with your team and how you're wanting to play it. I think this is probably fine, or something similar to this. We're timid, so yeah, so we don't have to worry about that. So something similar like this. This will outspeed Kyogre naturally by 1, which if that's something you're interested in like looking at, you could always speed creep to outspeed it by 2, which outspeeds everything creeping by 1, stuff like that. Alright, let's play a couple games here and show y'all how this team's supposed to work. This is a very interesting team from our opponent. Calyrex, Ice, Palkia, very strong. We're not sure what Urshifu. I would have to guess this is almost Waterfu. So you have your Fire, Water, Grass core. And then a Pheromosa to do speed swap things. I know this meme. I know this a ton. So something that you can, tricky that you can do is if they try to do that, you could always just lead Indeedee Xerneas here. Indeedee is 108. So this thing is probably faster than our Indeedee. So they can do fake out things if they can't do fake out if they want to. And then in the back we can bring Regieleki and Incineroar. Groudon doesn't line up well into these two restricted specifically. Charizard doesn't line up into all of that really well. Like Charizard only really hits this, and like hits the Pheromosa, hits the Calyrex Ice, and hits the Rillaboom. And technically the Urshifu if we get into a position where we can do that. But we have other Pokemon that can do that for us. And so I think I'm going to bring this Incineroar. So they are min speed. They are min speed Rillaboom. Okay. So we just pivot and protect. We save our Indeedee and we protect our Xerneas. Incineroar comes out. and intimidates these two. Sure, you get a fake out. That's also fine. This is 100% fine. Parting shot the Rillaboom and protect. Awesome. We're in a good spot now. A lot of pivoting back and forth here. Rillaboom's coming back out here. I already know it. Yep. And so we pivot back into Incineroar. And we click the follow me button. No, yeah, we pivot into Incineroar. And I think I just click Expanding Force into this Palkia. Just to put a little bit of chip on it. That's fine. We fake out... Actually, I think we just Flare Blitz. And pivot into Regieleki. Yeah, they are super slow Rillaboom. Got the burn. That's good. Parting shot into Incineroar. So Regieleki got in for free. Pivot into Indeedee to remove that. And then I could easily just Dynamax this Regieleki now. Or I could... Could I? I could easily just... Yeah, pivot into Indeedee, and then probably... Max Guard? No, Max Strike into Rillaboom makes the most sense here, because it's going to reduce the Palkia's speed. And it removes their terrain control, that's fine. They did not max their Palkia, so they set Trick Room, that's fine. Follow me, and then max Lightning into this Palkia slot seems fine. Actually, no. Follow me, max Lightning into the Incineroar slot. Yep. Because we want to redirect this. This is going to go into Rillaboom. We get to take it out. Yep. We get to blop this Rillaboom now. We eat that Max Quake all day. And we take away the terrain. And so now we can just pivot into Incineroar. Because they likely just Geyser and Max Guard. Yep, fake out. Quake, we protected that one. Rillaboom goes down. Our Dynamax is now over. Trick Room has 2 more turns left. They're -1 speed, so they're probably min speed. And so what we can do here is Parting Shot and pivot to Indeedee. No fake out. Shuka Berry, get to do that. Parting Shot off this Palkia, that's also Life Form apparently. Pivot back into Regieleki. And then we protect this turn. And I think we pivot into the Incineroar. Actually, I could pivot into Incineroar and follow me, in the hopes that they take out my Indeedee this turn. Double hit into Indeedee, please? Nope. Okay, that's fine. We get to see what the last Pokemon is. It is Dark Urshifu. Okay. So Parting Shot into Palkia and follow me again. That's fine. They're going for Trick Room. I think we just bring out Xerneas here. Oh no, they just went for Earth Power. Oh yeah, they're minus speed. This is free then. And I think Moonblast and Rising Voltage into the Palkia slot here gets us a clean victory here. This has been a lot of pivoting and a lot of positioning to try and get into this position here. But we finally got into a spot where we wanted to be. And our opponent scoops it up. Good job. Yeah, this team felt fine here. This was a very long match. Turn 11. You don't ever see them get to this long. Like, Roar means that Xerneas goes out. We correctly didn't use our Geomancy Power Herb yet, because the Incineroar has Roar. We saw that earlier. So being able to just double into Palkia means that we take it out and we don't have to worry too much about the Roar, like, removing all of our buffs that way. Okay, one more before we call it a day here. Let's see what we can find here. So this is a Groudon Zacian team. Very, very powerful. Carrying Lapras and what I assume to be Dark Urshifu. So Xerneas lines up okay outside of, like, the Charizard and the Zacian. We're not beating them up. So our line here is probably going to be like a Dynamax Groudon with Regieleki support and Xerneas in the back. So what we can do here is Groudon Incineroar, Regieleki, and then Xerneas. This gives us Fake Out Pressure into this. We can use Incineroar to pivot off of a Lapras into like a Regieleki or into Xerneas or something if we need to. Groudon can hit everything for at least neutral damage there, so cool. Interesting play here. They have their Charizard here. What we can do is Max Guard and Parting Shot off the Charizard. This will stop the Charizard from just setting up on top of us if they want to try and hit our Groudon for super duper hard damage using their Max Wildfire. Obviously, Incineroar resists that hit, so that would be fine. Zacian likely protects or pivots out because they're at neutral and not at +1 like they normally are. Yep, there's the Max Charizard. Zacian protects like we called. We Max Guard. They Airstream the Incineroar. Incineroar lives on 1. That is called calculated. That is called doing a calc. And so now we max Rockfall and pivot Incineroar back in. This baits a Quake if they have it into a Lecky. And we could pick up the Charizard here on the backswing if we get lucky. We could also easily just max Quake the Zacian. I don't hate that plan, just blowing up the Zacian here. Oh, that did almost nothing. Solar Blade's cute, though. Well, that is our Xerneas check down. So now I think Xerneas can run rampant here. Odds are they probably bring in like Whimsicott or this Urshifu. They don't have Intimidate to stop Groudon. Groudon's also got +1 special defense, so the Lapras isn't a good check here either. Whimsicott, there's Whimsicott. Okay, so what we can do here is Rockfall and protect this turn. If we take out the Charizard, I think we're in a great spot. Because we do have E-Speed to kind of just get a cheeky hit in on something if something is Sash later on. We're also Rock Falling to remove any kind of Sash on those Whimsicott as well. Tailwind, Max Wildfire. It's going to, I guess, 100 to owe us. That's also fine. Well, then the Charizard goes down to Rockfall. And now we're in a position where this Urshifu has to have Poison Jab to beat our Xerneas. And we can also just... Oh, they brought Groudon. Okay. So then... I feel like this is fairly free. They've got Tailwind for 3 more turns. I'm a P-Blades, and I'm a Geomancy. They missed. Oh, they hit the Xerneas. Okay. Geomancy boost. This puts us faster than the Groudon for sure. Ooh, forgot about Wildfire. Wildfire takes us out next turn, so this is going to be a loss, unfortunately. They could just double protect here and they win. Yeah, the hope was that we survive that and then Wildfire, we get to take out these two together. Especially seeing how much Dazzling Gleam did to Xerneas before the +2, is definitely thought that we would live it at +2. Kind of unfortunate there. So what did we learn about this team? Overall, I think this team is fine. Definitely has some issues with like trying to get the Xerneas set up a lot. I feel like if you're playing this team, you have to really practice on knowing when it's correct to go for Xerneas and when it's not correct. Overall, I think the Sun Core is fine with like Groudon, Charizard. Incineroar could honestly just be like Screens Grimmsnarl if you want it to be. I don't hate this option. Something that's just going to help you live longer and draw this game out, because that's the kind of game plan you want to play. You want to play a long positioning game and try to live more hits. Something like Reflect, Light Screen, Thunder Wave, if that's what you're into. I like Scary Face, but Thunder Wave's very standard. And then I think I would rather play Foul Play here. Having a dark move to hit Calyrex Shadow is super duper important. Max HP, some amount of defense. I don't remember the correct numbers, but something like this with a impish nature. Something like this. Obviously, the fixed pace that is all updated with correct EVs and whatnot will be down below. Make sure to go check that out. And yeah, hope you enjoy this kind of video. These kinds of things are fun for me to do, especially when we have these unique type of duos here with like Xerneas Groudon, or a couple coming up is like Kyogre Dialga. That's another upcoming episode that I'm super duper excited about. But yeah, make sure to hit that like button, ring the bell, do all that fun YouTube algorithm stuff. Make sure to check out our merch page and all that other great stuff. And we will see you all next week with another deep dive. Bye, everyone.